Hello my beautiful glam fam and welcome to today's video. We're testing out the brand new True to Myself Tinted Pressed Powder from Rare Beauty. I am so excited to test this out on my mature skin. I have two shades. I have a light shade and I also have a darker shade to bronze up the skin. So we're going to do an all day wear test, plus I'll have some footage from other days as well. If you're new here, I'm Kristi. I'd love for you to hit that subscribe button, and without further ado, let's get glowing.
You better turn up. You better be there when I shake.
Alright glam fam, let's jump right into it because I already have my base makeup on and I don't want this to start creasing, and I didn't use any other powder because I do really want to test this out today. Now, I am going to go through all the details, the ingredients, and all of that good stuff, but I do want to jump into the application part first. We're going to switch things up here a little bit. This is definitely an interesting looking compact. It's like half of a compact. It's cool. It's different for Rare Beauty. I like that. But I do want to show you guys the swatch. So I went with the lightest shade just based on my history with Rare Beauty. It feels like they tend to run a little bit darker in my opinion. And with powders especially, you have to remember that powders really oxidize with your natural oils throughout the day. And I like to use these type of powders under my eye. I like a more brightening effect with my powder. So I went with Porcelain, which is the lightest shade in the spectrum, but we'll touch on all the shades in just a second. Plus I also picked up a darker shade, but I don't know if this was the right shade for me. I wanted more of a cool tone because I kind of wanted to sculpt and bronze the face, and her shades tend to run a little warm in my opinion. So I went with True Caramel, but I think this one is going to be way too warm for my skin tone, but we'll have to see. You know, we'll just test it out. We're just trying to see how it works as like a bronzer shade as well. So I already prepped my skin with my normal Dermatology. You guys know the water cream. I have to use that. It's just a must have. And again, you can always use my code Kristi20 and always get 20% off with all Dermatology products. And then I went in with my NYX Freezy Face because you guys know this is just my method, and I really want to give this a fighting chance with my best products underneath. And then I smoothed out my skin with that, and then I go in with my #1 primer from Dermatology, and this is just that pore filling type of primer. It's really going to smooth out the skin, and again, this is my method. Do what works for you. And then I went in with my favorite combination, my holy grail combination. This is my #1 pick right here, and this is my Maybelline Skin Tint 118 with my L'Oreal Glotion, and that is in the shade Fair. And I mix those together, and it's just my ultimate favorite way to apply my foundation. And I just go in there with my fingers just because that gives me the most natural finish, but I still get coverage for some reason. And then I'll go in after with a brush, but I really like applying it with my fingers. I think really truly that gives you the ultimate coverage. I have never been a finger girl. I just don't like to apply my makeup with fingers, but it really does give you such a natural finish, especially when you really want that to look flawless on your skin. And then I go in with my brush, and this is a way for me to preserve the bristles on my brush as well, because if you dip right into the back of your hand, you're allowing that product to really seep in there. I went in with the rougher BO2 because this is right now my ultimate favorite #1 foundation brush. And that really just stippled the product in there, pressed it in without pulling away any product, and really just kind of smoothing it out on the skin as well. And then I go in with my Dose of Colors sponge. This is my #1 sponge, and I'm just really starting to press that. And I do wring that out really good, so just so you guys know that. Just make sure that's almost dry, but it's still damp, slightly damp. And then I went in with my Hourglass concealer, because you guys know that's my #1 concealer, and that is in the shade Cotton. I was just asked by one of our beautiful Glam Fam sisters what my #1 concealer is, and by far most of you know this is just my #1 concealer. There's no better concealer on the market than this one, in my opinion, for my skin type. And it just gives me that beautiful full coverage, but it's so hydrating and creamy at the same time, where it's thin enough. It's thin, but it has pigment. And that was my best explanation to our beautiful Glam Fam sister, Black Diamond. She asked me, and I was like, this is the one for us mature skin girls, because it is thin, but it still has that coverage, which I absolutely love. And I love the fact fact that it lasts all day for me. And then I went in with my Rare Beauty contour stick, and I love this. This is actually probably personally my favorite one. I love my Armani one, but this one is just so, there's so much depth to this, but it's just that perfect undertone. And that is Bright Side. Oh, if you guys are looking for a good contour shade, that is just literally the perfect shade. And there's no coconut oil in there, which I absolutely love. And I'm just sculpting out the face with the Patrick Ta contour brush, but that's not available anymore. I think he has a dual-ended version of that, but I loved that brush. I don't know why he took that away. And I'm just pressing that into the skin and sculpting out the face. And then I went in with my Rare Beauty Soft Pinch blush in the shade Bliss. And I absolutely love this blush, you guys. It really does leave a nice blur to the skin as well. And I really, really do appreciate that. All right, you guys, let's jump into these powders before this makeup starts to crease. So we are gonna go in with my puff, but they did release a puff for $15. It looks like a diamond, and maybe I'll pick that up during the sale, but you guys know I'm pretty true to my, these are my two #1 puffs. I have Amazon cheap ones that I'll use around the lip and stuff like that, but nothing compares to these two for setting my under eye and setting the rest of my face. So I'm gonna go in with the tear shaped one from Makeup Forever, and these are only $10 on, but you can only get them on the Makeup Forever website, just so you guys know that. Just making sure I don't have any creasing. All right, you guys, let's get this on before we do. So we're taking that, we're gonna see. So there's not a lot of coverage there. You can see when I use like my one size powder, it's going to be a little bit more coverage, but this is not supposed to be a foundation powder. This is a setting powder, so just keep that in mind as well. All right, let's just start to set down. It's very nice, very finely milled. This is not a first impression. I did test this out yesterday, just so you guys know. So I will give you my thoughts in a second. So I'm gonna do something a little different on this video. I'm gonna try this method out. Instead of doing like a midday check-in where I kind of check in with you guys and insert that into the middle of the video, I'm just gonna show you more B-roll because I'm repeating myself because I always go through the final rate card at the end. So we'll include that in the wear time section. All right, let's take the rest of the Makeup Forever, not the rest, the Makeup Forever large puff. This is the 100mm, and I'm just gonna kind of set the outer perimeters now. My makeup's still a little tacky, and I don't like it to be tacky. I know some people like that wet look. That's not my thing. I like more of a matte look, and then I add radiance with my powders, with my Rare Beauty powders. Yeah, so I love that. Rare Beauty has my favorite highlighters. They're my #1 highlighters, and I love the new Soft Pinch Luminous Powder blushes. Those are just become a holy grail of mine. So I'm still sticky. That's why I'm gonna continue to set down. And I'll show you, I'm getting my hair done today, as always. I always film that day because that's like my very, very, very long day. And you guys can get a good wear test to see what that looks like. And I'll just show you footage throughout the day. So let's take a look at it up close and then in natural daylight outside of my studio. Before we jump into the darker shade, let's touch on the details really quick. So again, this is the brand new Rare Beauty True to Myself Tinted Pressed Talc-Free Finishing Powder. This retails for $30 US. You get 0.28 ounces and 8 grams of product. You're looking at about $3.75 per gram. This has an 18-month shelf life and it is made in France. This is described as a powder that does it all. Blurs, smooths, reduces shine, and sets your makeup for a light, buildable coverage with a natural finish. This talc-free multitasker delivers a diffused cloud-like effect that lets your radiance filter through with no chalkiness, caking, creasing, or clogging your pores. It's also not supposed to have flashback. This powder contains less than 1% of synthetic fragrance, and it is also vegan and cruelty-free. Let's take a look at the full ingredient list. I am just happy there's no coconut derivatives in there, you guys. I thought for sure there was going to have that, and it did not. So I was really happy you have synthetic formaldehyde as the first ingredient. There's a few ingredients in there that I'm really excited to see because I love those in powders, and that's rice bran wax. Of course, you have your dimethicones. You have boron nitrate. I see with boron nitrate, it always is kind of a smooth powder, and I like that. And you also have sunflower seed oil. And you guys can take a look at the rest of the ingredients to see if there's anything in there that aggravates your skin. Let's take a look at that packaging, you guys. It is so incredibly cute. I like the raised Rare Beauty logo. I love that. And I always love that when you open up the packaging, it always says you are rare, or she'll have some type of message in there. And I just really appreciate the simplicity but elegance of the product. It truly is very classy, like Selena Gomez. She is a very classy young lady, or she's a young woman now. Goodness gracious, she feels younger to me because that was my niece's generation. But I really love the packaging, and I really do love this shade Porcelain. So this is available in 14 shades, just so you guys know that. And Selena Gomez does wear shade Ivory if you're anything close to her skin tone, but Porcelain really worked for my skin tone, but that is the lightest shade, and that's light with neutral undertones. Remember, this is more of a translucent powder with, obviously you're getting some pigment in there, but do keep that in mind. But it really is such a beautiful shade. I really like that shade. Now, True Caramel, on the other hand, did not like that shade, and that was described as a medium deep with cool undertones. For being described as a cool undertone, this actually is pulling a lot of red undertones, which is why I'm not going to really, I'm going to do some sculpting, but it's going to be more as a bronzed look. So I'm going to take this rougher number 37 brush, and we're going to test that out. I'm scared on the pigment. I don't know how this is going to, because it's a setting powder, so it's not supposed to have too much pigment. So I'm just, ooh, okay, yeah, this is definitely red. That definitely pulled. So now you can kind of get an indication of how much pigment you're getting. So that went on a little splotchy for me. And I find this with setting powders. I don't know if it's because it's not designed to be a bronzer, but that is way too orange for my undertones. That's not a flattering color on me. So I am gonna actually take that off because I don't really care for that. And that does not look good. I'm looking at it in my magnifying mirror and I'm like, oh boy. So this is not one I would recommend for that type of look. I just don't think, you know, this is meant to be a setting powder that you're supposed to do matching to your skin, and I would stick to that. So this is a no-go, but you know what? We had to try. We had to try it. I was the guinea pig. All right, let me fix this up. Let me do the rest of my makeup and I will be right back. All right, you guys, I wanted to show you really quick. I thought, let me just jump right back on here. So let me show you the difference. This is a setting powder as well. This is the Charlotte Tilbury setting powder, and this is in the shade Deep. This is the darkest shade for the deepest skin tones, okay? So one thing I'm gonna tell you is this is beautiful for that concept. I already took it off. You can see the blush popping through, which is one thing I do want to point out really fast, just in case I forget this in the final thoughts and ratings, is this powder is so thin that you can still see the contour and the blush underneath, which I do appreciate. So that is really nice. But anyway, so this is the darkest shade, and the formula is so smooth that it just glides on. And I'll show you guys that in just a second. So you saw how that one applied as a bronzer type product. Now let's get my normal brush I always use, which is my Hakuhodo brush with this product. So it's already on here. I'm just gonna dip that off because it is quite aggressive. But do you see how smooth and nice that is? It's just a much, much, much softer, more airbrushed powder, especially for us mature skin ladies that have a bit more texture. And even for my younger girls, like if you have texture from acne or anything like that, you want a powder like this more than you do something like this, because this is going to smooth, that's going to airbrush the skin. Now, of course, this is nice because it's talc free for like my girls like Jessa and some of my Glam Fam sisters that don't like talc. You have options now, and that is really, really nice. But I still say there's nothing that can compare to the Charlotte Tilbury. All right, you guys, I wanted to point that out because I think it's really important. But now I am going to finish up the rest of my makeup, and I will see you guys in a little bit to give you my final thoughts, ratings, and all of that fun stuff. So I will see you guys in just a second. All right, Glam Fam, back in studio. It is at the end of the day and I am so incredibly tired and I cannot wait to take off my makeup and just finish up because I just filmed a new Dyson Norel hairdryer review. So stay tuned for that review. I'm gonna have the full in-depth review, demo, and all of that good stuff before the Sephora sale comes up in the fall. So obviously you can tell I just blew dry my hair. So I have a little disappointing news for you guys. This powder is just not working for me. So I ended up having to take off all my makeup. It just did not work out for me. It creased up like crazy. And my makeup never creases with my powders. You guys know, these powders right here are my holy grail. I cannot do a makeup look without these powders. And that's what I have on right now. This lasted me for the last 5 hours that I have filmed the Dyson video because that took a long time. And this would have never held up. It was already so bad by the end. I was sweating from the lights and stuff like that. And I can't tell you guys enough how incredible these powders are and how flawless my makeup still looks. I did not get that from this powder. So right now, what I have on right now is not this Rare Beauty. What I had on earlier in the video was Rare Beauty. But I just want to show you guys the difference. So let's take a look at my top pressed setting powders. You guys know One Size, Chantecaille, and Charlotte Tilbury are my top 3. But Hourglass would round that out at number 4. But if you're looking at the one I like to set under my eyes, it's definitely going to be One Size without a doubt because I get that little additive coverage because it is a powdered foundation. Chantecaille is also a powdered foundation, but it is so thin, a lot thinner than the One Size, that you can barely see that swatch because it is so thin, but it's very forgiving on mature skin and the most blurring powder you'll ever get. And then Charlotte Tilbury is just a holy grail. I cannot live without that powder, and that shade medium. And then you can look at Hourglass, which is translucent medium. So you guys can see the differences between those 4 and then the Rare Beauty there in the middle. But if you're like, Kristi, I like talc free, I would say Hourglass over this new Rare Beauty one, especially if you have mature skin like myself. I just think it is just a lot more forgiving and I had a lot less creasing. You can check out my full review on the Hourglass brand new Vanish Press powders, but I want you guys to be able to see the swatches between translucent medium and porcelain right there. I have all 3 powders on and you can't even tell I have powder on. My makeup looks flawless right now, and this is a lot. This is me at like 14 hours. I can have this on and nothing. So for me, those powders work. For somebody else, these might work. So always keep that in mind. Just because it didn't work on my skin, it doesn't mean it's not gonna work on yours. And it's talc free. Those are not talc free. So just so you guys know that. Let's go over my rate card. I've kind of switched things up here a little just because I wanna make this as useful as possible. If you're new to my channel, I like to rate the products at the end, go over each category. And I look at application, I look at the overall finish, the wear time, and then the shade range and packaging. And then I'm gonna give you my overall glam score, and then I'll let you guys know whether it's a repurchase type of product. So how did it apply? Was it smooth and even? Yes, I have to say upon application, it is very smooth. I wouldn't say it's as finely milled as those powders that I already mentioned, but it is nice. You guys can see right there, it applied really, really nice. Was it patchy? The dark shade was. So for me, that was a no-no. I would say it's a setting powder, so it's not meant to be a bronzer, but I can use my Charlotte Tilbury as a setting powder as a bronzer shade, and it looks beautiful. I want a multi-purpose type of product. So I'm gonna give application a 4 out of 5 just because of that dark shade being a little patchy in my opinion. Now let's look at the overall finish. So again, out of 5, these are the things that I'm looking for. Does this look smooth on my skin, especially my over 46 skin? And I'll show you the blurring percentage right there of where I felt. I have to think about this, but I can tell you right now it's gonna be low because I don't think it blurred out your skin at all. Chantecaille blurs out your skin. This I personally didn't think it was that blurry. Now this is described as a natural finish. So typically if a product is matte or if it's supposed to be radiant or natural finish, I'm gonna look at that percentage level right there. And I would say this is true to a natural finish. And again, like I mentioned earlier, my colors, my, you know, like the blush and the contour I used underneath it, it didn't have so much pigment and matte qualities where it took away from that. So I like that it just laid nicely over it. And I have to say I was really impressed by that. Did it emphasize my texture? Not till the end of the day on the wear time, but upon first application, the first hour or 2 or 3, it was fine. So as far as the finish goes, I'm gonna give my overall finish rating is a 3 out of 5. I think it's okay. The wear time of this product, let's take a look at my midday check-in, and I'll show you guys, and let's roll over into this footage right here. That was kind of the starting point outside, and I really was loving it, you guys. And then that is what it looked like throughout the rest of me getting my hair done. So at first, those first 4 hours, I was feeling it. I was like, okay, it's looking pretty good. You can see right there as my hair is bleached and all that. It's looking okay. I'll show you guys the outdoor footage of what it was looking like right out of my hair salon, and you could start to see the creasing right there. I just was not impressed. I was like, man, oh man, when I wore it the other day, it wasn't as hot. So maybe I didn't wear it as long as I did today. So I just, you guys, I just was not impressed by that wear time. So I'm gonna give wear time a 2, you guys. That was not good for me. No bueno for me. Now let's take a look at the shade range. So I'm looking at the overall shade range. 14 shades. It's okay. I mean, it's a pretty big brand now. They could have come out with more shades in my opinion, but it's not bad. Was I personally able to find a shade? Yes, I do think Porcelain was really beautiful. Now, the contour bronzer shade, no. But the actual shade to set my makeup, what the purpose of this powder is, yes. I do think Porcelain was a really beautiful shade, and I want to base it off of that. As far as the pigment percentage of what you're getting out of this, just in case you guys want to know with how much coverage you get, I would say you get about 30%. That would be the pigment amount. It's the coverage amount that you're gonna get. Again, this is a setting powder. It's not meant to be full coverage, but that's about how much pigment you're getting out of that powder. So basically, I'm meaning the amount of coverage, the amount of pigment you're getting if you wanted to use this as a standalone with a lighter weight foundation or with a full coverage foundation. And with a full coverage foundation, you'll be fine. That's gonna be the perfect amount of pigment. So I'm gonna give overall shade range a 3 out of 5. As far as packaging goes, the packaging is absolutely stunning. Again, it's really pretty and simple for the brand. I like how slim it is. It is a very unique packaging, but it's nice and it's gonna fit nicely into your purse, travel bag, makeup bag, wherever you wanna toss it into. And they say it's mess free, but there is some mess going on the edge of that. Again, this is the bronze one, but yeah, that's expected. It's gonna happen. But I would say that you're not getting that powder kick up, which is nice. That's not going all over the place. Like the mirror is still pretty nice and clean there. It didn't come with a protective, mine didn't at least come with a protective mirror thing. I thought that was interesting, but it closes nicely. It's kind of like a magnetic type closure, which is nice. And you have the shelf life and everything on the bottom. So speaking of the shelf life, I do like that it's 18 months. That's not bad. And it is made in France, which is really nice. I typically like the made in Italy powders more, but made in France is a lot better than made in other places. So we'll just leave it there. So I'm gonna give the packaging a 5. I think it is a very well made, and I think it's worth the price point. I do appreciate that. So overall, I'm gonna give packaging a solid 5 out of 5. So my total glam score is 17 out of 25. This is just not a product for me. So when it comes down to would I repurchase this product? No. And that's my percentage level right there, just because this is not one I will ever reach for again. To be 100 with you guys, I love my other powders way too much to reach for this one. Now I love my Swede powder too, you guys. Oh my God, I'm obsessed with this powder, but that's a loose powder. But if you're looking for a talc-free option, this isn't bad for, I think, a little above mid-level pricing, and you're like, Hourglass Kristi is just way too expensive and I didn't like that one, then definitely try this out. I know Laura Mercier has one as well. So test them all out. See what works for you. Talc doesn't bother me, so I love my other powders and they are full of talc, but that doesn't bother my skin. But I know like Jessa and some other of our Glam Fam sisters really want to stay away from talc. So definitely always try it out for yourself. For me, this is not a powder that I think does anything magical for mature skin like those powders do, but everyone's different. So somebody else that has mature skin may love this powder and think it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. You just have to try it out for yourself. You always do. So thank you so much for watching, you guys. If you did enjoy this video, please remember to hit that subscribe button, click the post notification bell, join our beautiful Glam Fam. We're here every week and we just love for you to become part of our family. If you did like this video, please give it a huge thumbs up when you guys hit the like button and comment below. It really does help my videos out. You can join me on the weekdays for all of my weekly shorts, and I'm also on Instagram and TikTok. You can check out my merch, Glamorous Life Collections, on my website, KristiAllure.com. Be sure to check out that video next, and I will see you guys in the next one. Love you guys. Bye.